Now let's get more on our main news. The National Audit Office report, which says that the economic benefits of the government's high-speed rail link project HS2 are unclear. The government says the report is based on old data. But with me now is Dr. Richard Wellings, Head of Transport at the Institute of Economic Affairs, a free market think tank. Thank you for coming in. Well, you're not a fan of HS2. Tell us why not.
No, well, I think a lot of the economic assumptions used in the business case are deeply flawed, and these have been picked up again by the National Audit Office. So this vindicates a lot of the criticisms that independent economists have had for a long time. And one of those, of course, is that the assumption that business travellers can't do any work on the train, and this is absolutely essential to the business case. It's nonsense, of course. People have got laptops, smartphones, they can look at documents and so on. So people can actually work on the train, and this makes a big dent in the business case.
Dramatically cutting journey times, though, between key cities inevitably makes it more attractive for people to travel between them, doesn't it? And doesn't it then inevitably flow from that they'll be spending money where maybe they wouldn't have done otherwise?
Yes, of course, there are real benefits from reducing travel times. The problem is the enormous cost of HS2. So including all the add-ons, we could be looking at 50 or 60 billion. And of course, this makes a massive difference to the economy. It's a tax bill potentially as high as £2,000 per household. So this will have a really bad negative effect on the economy. And of course, the benefits won't come through for many, many years.
There are other projects which obviously have cost an awful lot of money, and at the time people questioned the value, but over time people use them, they're hugely popular, and the value then goes beyond question. I'm thinking, I suppose, the Channel Tunnel, Jubilee Line extension, other motorway projects. Is it not just important sometimes to kind of forget the figures at the time, but just think of the long-term benefits to the country?
Well, the problem is we focus on the benefits, and we see all the shiny new taxpayer-funded regeneration schemes along the route, and we forget about the businesses that have closed, the jobs that have been lost because of the tax bill for all these projects. So it's a classic example of special interest driving policy.
What was closed, though, do you think, as a result of the costs of this? Well,
it's like any other tax rise. So this massive tax bill is going to close businesses at the margin. So businesses will have to pay a bit more tax. Some of them will close across the country. And of course, the other issue is this good value for money vis-a-vis other transport projects? And even the government's own flawed figures show this is very bad value for money with a very low benefit cost ratio. So if the government's going to invest in transport, there are much better schemes, often local bog standard schemes like bypasses that would deliver much bigger returns. I
mean, obviously, as you say, the cost is high. You say it would have a negative impact on jobs. The government says investing in infrastructure is inevitably good for jobs. It creates jobs, just the project itself.
I mean, the evidence is very weak on that. We have a good example in the UK, in Doncaster, which has had a fast rail link for over 30 years now. It's only 90 minutes from London, but it remains one of the poorest towns in the UK. It's no richer than any other boroughs in the north of England nearby. So the evidence is very weak on that. And we could also look to places like Spain, where they've actually had to cut services because they're uneconomic and there's no regeneration evidence.
Dr. Richard Wellings, thank you very much.